they will get a better body. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grihnati naroparani. You give up old clothes and get fresher, better clothes. So like that, they will get a better body. And you are thinking that your arrows will cause pain to them. And how can you do that? But what you are missing is that as virtuous souls, they are in a painful situation where they are obligated to fight on the side of Duryodhan. First thing is that Natvam shochitum arhasi. And Drona, that is not worth lamenting. They will go to a higher level. But still that does not solve Arjuna's question whether the fighting is the right thing to do. So one question is, can I fight Bhishma and Drona? The second question is, fighting itself the right thing? So then the whole discussion, first Karma Yoga, then Bhakti Yoga, then Dhyan Yoga, Gyan Yoga, all the yoga discussions come up as an exploration to tell Arjuna what he should be doing. Even Karma Kanda comes as a part of that. So in this university of adversity, when we face some painful situation, so at that time, this question, what do I need to let go? And what should I hold on? These two questions can help us face that situation much more calmly. Because normally, when we face a painful situation, like our plan has suddenly been disrupted. And the plan is disrupted, everything seems to fall apart. What's happening? Why is this happening? And instead of there are two questions that can really agonize us. Why is this happening to me? And why can't I do anything about it? These two questions, they are the pathways to frustration. They are the pathways to frustration. Why is this happening to me? And why can't I do anything about it? So our hope is, no, I should be able to do something about it. Yeah, and it is possible that we can do something about it. But quite often at that time, there is nothing we can do about it. So why is this happening to me? Sometimes at that time, there's no explanation for it. In the Bhagavatam, in the first canto, when there's this, when Parikshit Maharaj is going out to search for the influence of Kali, and he sees Kali in the form of a impersonator king beating up the cow and a bull. At that time, the bull is actually Dharma and the cow is Bhumi. So he asks the Dharma, he chastises Kali, stops Kali, and then he asks Dharma, what is the cause of your suffering? And Kali at that time Dharma replies, Vakya Bheda Vimohita. Different people have had different explanations of the cause of suffering, and I don't know what is the cause of my suffering. So in moments of, so that is an example of how that particular point of suffering, when there is the moment of pain, that is the moment of pain is basically it is exam time for us. If we consider this as a university, it is the test time, the exam time. And the wrong questions to ask, what are the two wrong questions? Why is this happening to me? Now, when I say it's wrong, it is not wrong to ask this question. And if you can find out an answer, well and good. But if we cannot find out an answer, then staying stuck with that question, that is unhealthy. So if somebody who seems to be a friend with us is suddenly rude with us, then try to find, did I offend you in any way? We ask that person. We ask somebody else who knows that person. So trying to understand why this is happening to me is good. But the point is, when it's wrong is, we stay stuck. There is no logical answer to why this is happening. And at that time, we can't figure it out. The second, so why is this happening to me is more in terms of our jnana. Why can't I do anything about it? This is also a painful question. That feeling of helplessness. This is more associated with our karmendriyas. Basically, we interact with the world in these two ways, with our jnanendriyas and with our karmendriyas. So these two are questions that are not healthy at that time. Maybe later on we will learn something from that lesson, learn something from that situation, and maybe we will get answers to that question. But at that time, the questions to ask, what do I need to let go? So in each situation of pain that comes in, there is something that I need to let go. And then, second is, what should I, or what can I, let's put it both. So now these questions actually at an internal level open doors for us. Open doors for us. Now both these questions in one sense, they So these questions when we ask, they are very helpful for us to find to make some sense in the situation. About 1.5 months ago, to come to Australia, I was supposed to, on 25th I started, 27th was Ram Navami, 25th of March. And I had a 1-year multiple entry visa. And I came via Singapore. So I came to Singapore, and from Singapore was a transit flight to Perth, where I was supposed to give the Ram Navami class. And at Singapore, they told me that your Australian visa is not valid. Now, I said, I have a valid Australian visa. It was a 1-year visa, and the validity was till September of this year. I said, no, it's not valid. Then I said, how is it possible? Then they said there's some website where you can go and check whether your visa is valid or not. So I went to the website, no, we don't find any record of this visa. So then I called up some devotees. There's a devotee migration attorney. And apparently this particular visa I had was 408 category. That is that it is a 1-year multiple entry visa. That's what is written over there. But the hidden clause is that after your first entry, all your subsequent entries have to be within 3 months. So after the first entry, after 3 months, the visa gets expired. So that is not written anywhere on the visa. It is, you have to actually know about it. So we tried to call the embassy, and they said, no, your visa is not valid. You have to apply again. And then I had my whole plan. I was completely disoriented, not knowing what to do at that time. Not only, generally before we started travel, we have booked all the tickets also, and all the itineraries planned. And at that time, I normally also use wheelchair for traveling. And then, unfortunately, the way it worked out was, I said that why didn't you tell this to me in Mumbai? If my visa was not valid, they should have told me in Mumbai, I would not have started off. So what had happened was, my flight was by 2 airlines. It was Indigo and Spirit. So Indigo asked me for my passport and my visa. They looked at it and they allowed me through. I don't know why they allowed me through. And then after that, now what had happened, the Spirit Airlines flight went away, and I normally need a wheelchair. They said that you are not associated with any airlines now, so we cannot give you a wheelchair also. So I said, you can go over there and apply this visa, or you can do this or do that. Another thing that had happened was that because it was a connecting flight, my baggage had already gone to Perth. Or at least that's what I thought. So I didn't know what to do. At that time, I was feeling, it's so ridiculous. If you don't have visa, tell me you don't have visa, I would not have come. So that time, the thing that helped me is, why is this happening to me? That question is not helpful. Why can't I do anything about it? That question is also not helpful. So what do I need to let go? He says, nothing can happen without Krishna's plan. Upadrashta anumantaja. So if I am going there to serve Lord Ram, if this has happened, that means maybe this is not my service. So I need to let go of that. But what do I hold on to? So what do I hold on to? That, I am here to serve the Lord. So then I called the devotees in Singapore. And then I was stuck at the airport. I could go anywhere. So they said, we'll try to apply for your Singapore visa. I had a Singapore visa, but I had come for 1 month last year. So after 1 month, it got over. So they said sometimes normally it comes within 1 day. Sometimes they take 2 days also. So we're planning, is there a lounge I can stay in because I had to plan out what to do. So then the devotee applied for the visa, and he explained that this is the situation. And he called me in 15 minutes and he said, your visa has already come. So it's like, life is sometimes unfair. And my Australian visa didn't work out. But the Singapore visa came very, very easily. So life is unfair, but sometimes life is fairly unfair. What that means is, one thing works out very much against us, but another thing works in favor of us. So then I thought maybe I can just stay on in Singapore and I can do some programs, maybe I can wait there. So now we had no idea if we apply for the Australian visa again, how long will it take? So then I checked with Singapore devotees, they said that they had a whole series of other speakers for the next 2 weeks. And all the slots were busy. So then I was thinking, should I go back to India? And then I remembered that one devotee from Taiwan had met me and he said, whenever you have some time, come to Taiwan. So he called, so then I just messaged him, and I was wondering, I had met him only once. So I didn't even know whether he'll respond or not. And I messaged him, and he just called me back within 1 minute. He said, actually we had a speaker who was supposed to come for Ram Navami, but he cancelled. So can you come for Ram Navami? So I got the Singapore visa, and then he said, actually Taiwan, to get do you have, if you have only Indian passport, it's difficult, but which other country's visa do you have? So I said, I have a New Zealand visa, I have an England visa, I have a Canada visa. He says, all those visas are fine. Any one visa, you come there, you'll get Taiwan visa on delivery, on arrival. So then I stayed for that. I immediately, from the airport only, I applied for the Australian visa. It was online application. Then, now normally, Australian visa you just apply, and it's completely digital visa for Indians. But then, I got the information that you have to do biometrics. And then we checked on the Singapore embassy, there are no dates for biometrics available for 1 month. Then the devotee was helping me in that. He said that, let's explore a little bit. And then he found below in a small detail, there's a walk-in facility available, but there is no predictability how long you will have to stay after walk-in. You may have to stay for 6 hours, you may have to come back on the next day. So we decided, let's try it out. So then the next morning we went at 8 o'clock, and we went for walk-in. And so basically this was the day of Ram Navami. And then Taiwanese devotee was saying, are you going to come for Ram Navami or not? So I told, I depend on the Singaporean immigration now, the Singaporean biometrics or Australian embassy. So we went there, and then we were waiting, and suddenly, like in half an hour, 45 minutes, I had the walk-in. And from the Australian embassy at Singapore itself, I went to the airport. Another devotee brought my luggage, and I went to Taiwan. And I reached Taiwan, and then when I was giving the Ram Navami class over there, mostly Chinese devotees. Okay, you can call them Chinese. They don't like to call themselves Chinese. The Taiwanese devotees, but most of them did not understand English, so one devotee was translating. And when everybody was doing kirtan, and I was telling a lot of Ram's pastimes, and they were appreciating so much. Now that time, I felt that probably I would never have come to Taiwan if this visa had not been cancelled. So my plan did not work, but Krishna had some other plan. So the idea is that, okay, I had to willingly let go of that. Okay, my Australia plan is not working, but when we let go of one thing, emotionally at least we let go of it, then we can hold on to something. Hold on to something. So hold on to what? Okay, I am a speaker. I want to serve Krishna by speaking about Krishna. So where can I do that? So the example, that one of my favorite examples here is like the Ganga. Gange Vaughamudannuvati. Just as the Ganga always flows towards the ocean. Like that, our consciousness is meant to flow towards Krishna. If one path for the Ganga is blocked, the Ganga finds another path and keeps moving on. And so, for these questions, this is what helps the river to move on. The river of our, in that, what do I need to let go of in this situation? And what can I hold on to? What should I hold on to in this situation? Suddenly somebody is fired. Suddenly somebody gets a bad health diagnosis. Suddenly some relationship issue comes up. So now when I say let go doesn't mean that that whole situation has to break down. But at this particular point, this is not working out. At this particular point, this has happened. Now, I would much rather that this had not happened. But that this has happened, I need to come to terms with it. I need to accept it. So let go of, in one sense, let go of my plan, of my anticipation of my plan. But letting go of my plan is not passivity. So what can I hold on to in this situation? So in this, there are two aspects. Let's read, I think, the last paragraph here.
O merciful Lord, whether I live for the devotionally sportive or the devotionally disruptive is a choice I must make at every moment. If I do not become aware of how destructive death can be, I may never contemplate and confront this choice with gravity and urgency. Bless me to choose you more consciously and more creatively so that I may relish your presence both here and hereafter.
Yes. So every moment, we make a choice between remembering Krishna and forgetting Krishna. Now, remembering Krishna and forgetting Krishna, when we use these words, they can seem a bit otherworldly and impractical. I have to face real challenges. Maybe my boss, maybe my colleagues are doing politics with me in office, or this is happening over here, that is happening over there. So, what does remembering Krishna mean in that context? So, the idea is remembering Krishna means remembering that Krishna has a plan here, remembering that Krishna has a purpose over here. So, every situation we make a choice between what brings us closer to Krishna or what takes us away from Krishna. That's what is devotionally supportive and what is devotionally disruptive. And between these two choices, when we make, so the first thing here is that we need to look up before we look ahead. Look up to Krishna. What happens when I'm looking ahead and my plan is disrupted? Then what happens is I get frustrated. So if I wanted to go to this particular destination, it was my plan to get here, and when I'm going here, suddenly some obstacle comes up. So I cannot get there. Now I can keep looking ahead, and I don't find any way. So at that time, what do? I first look up. So this is not moving forward. If I keep looking ahead, why is this not working? Why is this not working? Why is this person not listening to me? Then we'll be frustrated. But we look up. So this looking up, what does it mean? You can say it means remembering Krishna. Yes, that is true, but as I said, it means remembering that Krishna has some plan over here also. And so this particular image we will talk about in tomorrow's session a little bit more. We'll build on this from here. So normally when we are in the normal course of life, for us the world is very big and God, Krishna, is small. Essentially in this universe there are these three truths. There can be many things, specific choices we want to make. Okay, this job or that job, staying at this place or that place, so many things. But everything that is happening in this world is an interaction of these three things. We call it as Jeev, Jagat and Jagdish. The three alliterative J's. So now, normally in the normal course of life, the world appears very big for us. And God is quite small. Yeah, he's there, he's not there. When I was introduced to Bhakti about 30 years ago, I was so enthused by the Gita's wisdom, I started sharing it with everyone. And I had an uncle, so he told me, God, yeah, I have a very good relationship with God. I said, good relationship? Okay, I had never seen him much go to a temple or talk about any spiritual things or even read any philosophical books or sacred texts. So I said, what do you mean by a good relationship? So he says, mutual non-interference. He is happy there, I am happy here. That is an example of what? That God is so small as to be basically irrelevant. The problem with this is, I may be happy here right now, but I won't be happy forever. So now, when we remember Krishna, what happens by that remembrance is, the world starts becoming smaller and Krishna starts becoming bigger. So this is an essential change. I said earlier that the problem may still be there, but we don't want to live in pain. We try to live with the pain. So when the world is very big, the problem from the world will seem overwhelming, crushing, devastating. But when the world becomes smaller and Krishna becomes bigger, then the world's problem also doesn't seem so big for us. We understand that, yes, I am a soul and I am a survivor. Right? There have been many problems in my life and I have survived those problems. And this problem also I will survive. So that confidence, when as Krishna becomes bigger, what is the effect on our consciousness? If this is my consciousness here, as the extent the world is big, the problem becomes big for me. But as the world becomes smaller for me, then the problem also becomes smaller. And here what happens? Because the world is big, Krishna is small, so Krishna is small over here. I have my plan and my plan needs to work. Yeah, Krishna, what does Krishna want? Okay, I don't really care. We won't actually say that, but we just don't care so much. But as Krishna becomes bigger for us, so the world with its problem, we can stay calm even in the face of that pain. We are not so disturbed by that problem. And now, of course, I'm not disturbed, that is good. But I still have to deal with the problem. So that will be the second part. Tomorrow we'll discuss. Bhakti at one level is acceptance of the situation. But it is also the acceptance of the responsibility to serve Krishna in that situation. So then what do I do? So one aspect is, okay, this test, I didn't want this test to come, but the test has come. I accept it. But okay, now how do I pass the test? So what matters? What matters is Krishna. And we seek relief in that situation by remembering Krishna. We are not so overwhelmed by it. But then after that, okay, how going through and growing through the pain. It is about facing the situation and emerging stronger through it. So that we'll discuss in tomorrow's session. I'll summarize what we discussed today. Our topic was broadly facing problems. The specific title was that the University of Adversity. So I talked about 3 main points today. The first point was that the pain and God, what is the relationship? How do we make sense? And for that, now we understand that the pain is a part of the Maya of the world. But then what does it mean? We discussed 4 metaphors to make sense of this. And we are focusing on 2 of those metaphors. The first metaphor was, this is like a dream. So the idea is wake up from the dream. And that is also true. But then it seems to, what do I do right now? Because I'm still in the dream. I can't suddenly wake up. Then the second is, it's a prison. So I have to reform myself. Now, I don't know what exactly I did wrong to correct it. So in the long run, I can reform myself and I can become more devoted. But it doesn't help us to immediately deal with the problem. So they're valid, but these are more long uses of Krishna's help, Krishna's love. That Krishna is on our side. Krishna is not causing the suffering. Krishna is wanting to cure the suffering. The pain is there in the hospital undeniably, but pain is not caused by the doctor. The doctor is there to cure the pain. The last metaphor was university. So in the university, the advantage of this is that the focus is on what really matters. That was ultimately what matters is what we have to learn in life. And then we discussed the example of Arjuna in the Gita. That his pain was not just, so how do we apply this? We discussed that Arjuna's pain was not just adversity, and third is agony where we have to do something bad. Not just something bad happens, but it is we who have to do something bad. And for Arjuna, the question was, which is worse? Is the kingdom is gaining the kingdom is losing the kingdom is worse, or gaining the kingdom is better, or losing my elders, that is worse? So he tends to think that losing my elders is far worse and therefore I should not fight. But Krishna gives him a bigger vision. That this fight is not just about you and your kingdom or your relatives, it is a fight between dharma and adharma. And dharma is, so it is my plan that this war happen, and therefore this war will happen. So whether you participate or not. Therefore in this question, so in processing the pain, we discussed that the question that helps us. So when the moment of pain comes, the helpful question and the harmful question, you could say. The constructive question, the unhelpful question is 2/4. What are the two questions? Why happened? Why is this happening to me? And why can't I do anything about it? So in general, at a philosophical level, we may understand the question that, okay, it's because of karma or whatever. But that is not very practically, why can't I do anything? So the helpful questions are what? Yeah, what do I need to let go? And what can I hold on to? So in this situation, what do I let go? What can I hold on? So we discussed let go. What is it? It is my plan. Whatever it is, I need to let go of my plan. Okay, this is not going to work out. But what do I hold on to? First, it is Krishna, and then second is Krishna's plan. Or Krishna's plan for me. Krishna, the way I can serve Krishna. You can put it Krishna's plan or you can put it Krishna's service. So when we hold on to Krishna, what does that mean? That we look up to Krishna. When the problem is coming, that when I am here and on my destination, on my way to the destination, some sudden huge problem comes up, some big obstacle comes up, then rather than becoming resentful of that obstacle, Krishna can at least give us some relief. It's not a solution, but at least some sense of strength. So the idea is, when we look up to Krishna, that Krishna who was smaller becomes bigger for us. Now Krishna is always big, but we are reminded that he is bigger. And when that happens, then the problem which is consuming our consciousness, that problem, what happens? It doesn't consume us so much. We don't have to live with the pain. We don't have to live in the pain rather. We can live with the pain, remembering that Krishna is the bigger reality. And my plan may not be working, but Krishna's plan is still working. So Arjuna, that was the conviction that Arjuna gets by hearing the Bhagavad Gita. Now, what do we do after that? That we'll discuss in tomorrow's session. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Do we have time for questions? Okay. So any questions or comments? Yes, Manoj.
Thank you, Maharaj. It was a very good class. In the book of the 4 questions, they're talking about like why things is happening. Instead of like asking why me, why this happening, you need to say, okay, what is my lesson into this? When we asking what is the lesson?
See, what is the lesson is also a very abstract question. Because what is the lesson, it's very, very difficult to know. That's why, as I said, what do I need to let go right now? So the ultimate question for life in every situation is, what ultimately matters? Then when I say what ultimately matters, that does not mean that what immediately matters is not important. But so what is the lesson? It sounds a very nice question. Okay, there's some lesson to learn in suffering. But it is not very clear, what do I do at this time? So that's why, break the question down, what do I need to let go right now? And what can I hold on to right now? So, okay, if I'm working in an office where my boss is very disrespectful, what do I need to let go? Maybe, but that particular job is very important for me. Say, I need it because I need the money, I need that career pathway. Then maybe what I need to let go at that time is my ego. Now you say, it's not ego, I need basic self-respect. Okay, true, but if I need my job more than that right now, then that is the big thing, and I need to let go of that thing. So basically, what is the lesson is not a question that necessarily leads us to clarity. That's why asking these 2 questions, What do I need to let go in this situation, and what can I hold on to in this situation? That's much more constructive. Okay? Thank you. Yes, please.
So, when you are in a situation, so of course, after some time, we need to let things go. But the point is, at what point of time we realize we should let this go? Like, thing is, there are certain criteria. After that, basically, we think, okay, we let this go. Because otherwise, if we do not think about anything and just let this go, it means we are not trying anything, right? So
Okay.
at some point of time, we need to decide, okay, what is that point?
Okay, good point. Okay, so the idea is, what does letting go mean, and when do we decide to actually let go?
Yeah.
So, okay, so let go. We cannot let go of the meaning of letting go so easily. We have to dive into it deeply. Actually, this is much a part of tomorrow's session, but I'll explain some points here. See, letting go has multiple levels of meaning. So first is accept the present. Or put it more provocatively, stop fighting with the present reality. It's like, it is not necessarily, how should I put it? It's not necessarily that we are accepting defeat, but at least, you put it in today's, like we have this Iran, America, Israel war going on. So we need a ceasefire with the present. Now, ceasefire is not a peace treaty. It is not necessarily amicable resolution, but fighting with the present is not going to be helpful. This has already happened. So letting go means letting go of my plan of how this situation should have been. That is the first level of letting go. So for example, now I always like to have this whiteboard and this writing and explaining. Now sometimes I go for some programs and they've not made that arrangement. Now sometimes I forget to tell them, sometimes I tell them but they forget. Sometimes they remember, but there's one main organizer and that organizer forgets to tell the other organizers or something. Somehow something goes wrong. So now when I have to give the class, I may have come mentally prepared with the idea that, okay, I'm going to write and draw and explain. But I have to let go of that now. That is not happening right now. Now, how can I ensure that it doesn't happen in future? That's a different question. But right now, so letting go means accepting the present reality. Stop fighting the present. Now, does that mean that I have to accept this as a permanent situation? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe I go to some remote village where they don't have projectors at all. They don't accept the present reality. That is what we are talking about this stage. Now, after that, that means, why is this situation like this? No, this is like this right now. So accept that. Let go of my desire for the situation to be different. Now, having done that, now, how do I act? So the way I accept is first by remembering Krishna. So I remember that this is also a part of Krishna's plan. This couldn't have happened without Krishna, if not wanting it to happen, at least without Krishna allowing it to happen. Krishna has some plan through this also. Now, after that, how tomorrow more, I can, what we often in psychology we call about fight, flight. What is the third one? Freeze. Yeah, these are not the most healthiest ways of doing things. But we could say that the way I will use these words is that I decide to mitigate the situation. I decide to, okay, mitigate means what? Well, let's make something. So let's do something. So one time I had a technical presentation to give. I said, we will make some plan. So we got a whiteboard and I wrote on the whiteboard throughout. Or one time what I had to do was that we all joined on Zoom and I was writing on my tablet, everybody looking at the Zoom on their phone. So we worked that way. So I decided I want to fix the situation, mitigate the situation. Now flight would be, I have never done this. I'm not going to give the class. Emigrate. I just leave. Now, normally this should not be this is not a healthy option. And sometimes I decide to tolerate. So freeze is not the best word. Here freeze means stay in place, I'm saying, in a healthy way. So these are unhealthy, these attitudes are unhealthy, these words. You have to fight, flight or freeze. But the healthier response in the same direction is, I stay in the situation, try to fix the situation. I leave the situation, or I stay in the situation and accept the situation. So all three options are valid. So now so this is the second stage, mean that I have to live with the situation. Letting go could mean I just leave the situation. Or holding on, I'm not going to let go of this perspective, along with some incidents from the scriptures tomorrow. So first is accept the situation and then act to be of some service even in that situation also.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Yes, true.
There were only two options. Kul Dharma versus Kshatriya Dharma. And in fact, in the 5th Parva of Mahabharata, the Udyog Parva, there's a huge debate amongst the Pandavas, is what should medley on our nature, talent and interest basically. Kul Dharma is our horizontal relationship. So coming back to the point that you made, a beautiful points you made, Prabhu. So in order for us to hold on to Krishna, which is our vertical relationship, in a way we subordinate our horizontal relationship. We were discussing Anasakti, Anubhishanga, Putradara, Gre, Adishu. So we subordinate that part completely for the sake of the vertical relationship. And we subordinate or subdue the Varna nature as well, isn't it? Nature is very important, extremely powerful. It's the constellation of talent and interest. So we subordinate that, subdue that rather, and then we subdue the horizontal relationship, as Krishna says in 13.10, and together they will allow us to pursue the vertical relationship, which will actually result in Krishna becoming bigger than the things that we were initially holding on to. So we need to let go of other things. We need to hold on to Krishna, and in the process, we subordinate our psychophysical nature as well as our horizontal.
First to discuss privately, because there's a lot of, but I'll explain since you already raised the question. The idea is that, see, Arjuna's dilemma is on one side is his relations. So we could say that is a horizontal relationship we have with the world. So in general, we have horizontal relationship with others, and we have a vertical relationship with Krishna. So on one side is the horizontal relationship for Arjuna. The other side is his varna, his swabhava, his nature, which is a kshatriya. So now above this is Krishna. So the question is that, do we, as you said, we subordinate our relationship with our family and we subdue our nature so that we serve Krishna. And in one sense, what you're saying is exactly what 1866 is saying. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. So whether it is the dharma born from our nature or dharma born from our relationships. Parityajya is a very strong word. Parityajya is to give up, but I'll put it as deprioritized when it comes to our service to Krishna. Now, in principle, this is true. In practice, it is that we still live in the material world. We still have a material body. And we still have to serve Krishna through the material body in the material world. So, Krishna may be my highest priority above everything material. But still, that highest priority we have to pursue through something material in the world only. So, in that sense, at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, we could say, Arjuna chooses to fight. So, he is serving Krishna through his Varna Dharma. But his self-conception is not that I am a Kshatriya, so I am fighting. That is the initial level of instruction that Krishna gives in 2:31-32. And immediately after Atma Gyan, he says that Kshatriyasya na vikampate. That he says that Swadharmam apichaveksha na vikampitum arhasi. Dharmad yuddha shreyonyat Kshatriyasya na vidyate. For a Kshatriya, fighting is a natural duty, and that's what you should do. But at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna calls to Arjuna for surrender, Arjuna's response is not that I'm a Kshatriya, therefore I'll fight. His response is Karishye. Rejection of the material for Krishna's sake. It is reconnection with Krishna through the right material means. It is which material thing or which material pathway, which material action will help me to serve Krishna in this situation. So, say now I am a brahmachari. So in one sense you could say that I have renounced the world. But after renouncing the world, I could be doing many services. But then I also have my swabhava. I am not so much a manager. I am more of a writer, educator, thinker. So then I am serving Krishna according to my nature. But then if I had not been a brahmachari, I would have been probably studying science or engineering or doing some research or whatever. I would be the faculty. I probably got into teaching there. So, but there are subjects I would be teaching would be different. So in one sense, my connection with Krishna is stronger because I am speaking about Krishna. But at the same time, I am serving according to my swabhava. So all of us, nobody can give up everything material completely if they are to function in the material world. If somebody goes in the Himalayas and takes Prayavrat, okay, I'm going to fast to death, and remembering Krishna, and I'll go back to Krishna, then that's possible to renounce everything material. So that's why, in general, in the practice of bhakti, like in devotional decision making, I prefer not to make the decision as between material versus spiritual, or rather spiritual versus material, because that seems to be, if you're raising money for Krishna, then that is spiritual. But then if I decide to take a more high paying job by which I can earn more money for Krishna and give more money for Krishna, is that material or spiritual? But if I say that's also spiritual. But if in pursuing that high paying job I became material, so what happens is this categorization of spiritual and material is not that easy. It's so better we focus on what is favorable versus what is unfavorable. If we are in a situation where we have a family and we have responsibility to the family, and now our family are not really opposed to our bhakti, they may not be supportive, but they're not opposed. Then we may say that is not a favorable situation, but that's not exactly an unfavorable situation also. It's not that they're stopping us from practicing bhakti. So okay, I may have to balance both of them, but taking care of my family is also a part of my service to Krishna. It may not be a direct service, but it is service. So when this material spiritual differentiation comes up, it can be very black and white and short-sighted. That this is material, so I'll reject it. So that doesn't really work so well. When I was primarily doing college outreach in India, it happened once that I was in IIT Kharagpur, and when boy came 2-3 months, he was introduced to bhakti and became very enthusiastic. We call this the first 6 months, 1 year, or something like the honeymoon phase in Krishna consciousness. Everything seems wonderful at that time. And then this boy said that, he was in IIT, quite a brilliant student, and he said that, all this studies is temporary. I want to give up and join as a brahmachari. And he says, no, wait. So he was not convinced. Then we took them all for a tour to Mayapur. And then Mayapur, there was a senior preacher giving Bhagavatam class. And somehow it happened that they joined the brahmachari ashram in Mayapur. I said, what happened? He said, I got a realization from this class. He said that I am Bali Maharaj and you are Shukracharya. I want to surrender to Vishnu, but you are stopping me, therefore I reject you. Now, he joined the ashram, he stayed there for 3 months, and then he ran away from there. And then it was very messy. Because these are top universities and they are concerned about what happens to their students. And then it created a lot of problem because what happened was we had a youth center over there. And the way it came out this, the youth center got this boy to become a brahmachari and they're taking our engineers away. And they raided our youth center. And they shut down the youth center. And then we showed actually, we had been there for many years and we have many students. And many of the students were toppers. So we showed them, then their concerns were alleviated. But what happened was, this was not only trouble for him, but trouble for everyone else. That's why focus on what is, do I need to subordinate or subdue my swabhava? Sometimes it's required. So when I joined, although my primary nature is teaching and studying, when I had joined in the temple in Pune, it was a small temple, we had a very small community. So everybody had to do whatever service was required. So at that time I did management, I did so many other services also. Now, so sometimes we have to subordinate, I won't say give up our swabhava, but do some service which is not necessarily according to our swabhava. Like the Pandavas when they were in Agyatwas, for a warrior like Arjuna to become a dancer, isn't it? Is how much is it completely opposite to his dharma? But sometimes that's called apad dharma. In the emergency, it's required. So that will not be a long-term service, but sometimes it's required. So that's why rather than material, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki, Jai Gaur Premanande.
And very practical also, and thank you for sharing your experiences. Good to know that how to deal with situations like very practical, I would say. Thank you so much for that. And for all the devotees, tomorrow we have program again, second Quick Hill Station, same time.
So I have a few books. Can I talk
Yes,
about them?
sure.
Prayers inspired by Bhagavad Gita. Do we have one copy of that also? So those of you who have a copy, you can have it if you like to have. Otherwise, you can return it. So this is, last year also I had brought one volume of this book. That was based on first 6 chapters. This is based on the middle 6 chapters. 122 selected prayers. Each prayer is inspired by one verse, and this is the section on the bhakti. So there are very beautiful prayers, beautiful verses and prayers inspired by them. So if you are feeling lonely or misunderstood, if you are feeling dry in bhakti and tasteless, if you are feeling directionless about how to serve Krishna, if temptations are overpowering you, there are prayers for all occasions. Many devotees have told me that reading one prayer every day before they start their chanting helps them quite a bit. Then there is, this is Gita for the CEO, this national bestseller in India. This is basically, like I was having some diagrams and conceptographic depictions. So like that, there are small diagrams and explanations. 10 principles. If somebody is, some relative friend, they feel not able to connect with the Gita's philosophy and spirituality directly, how Gita can help us in our daily life and corporate life. 10 principles I explained. How can we communicate more effectively with others? How can we form a vision for our life? How can we understand our natures and the natures of those in our teams? How do we decide when we face setbacks? Oh, thank you. And this talks about 64 questions about the mind. That is, why does our mind remember negative things more than positive? Why is the mind so fickle? Can mental health problems be addressed by spiritual practices? And how much answer 2-page articles are there. This is actually, last year when I had come, I had taken the seminar on emotionally healthy spirituality. So this is application of that. Then there is this book on Srila Prabhupada. This is a small introduction to his life with beautiful pictures, the movements that made the movement. So activities, but somehow Prabhupada is not very well known outside the Krishna consciousness movement, the way many other spiritual leaders are. So this was a book that I had published. So this is in about half an hour, anybody can read and they can get a sense of what Prabhupada has achieved in their lives. So all these books are available, and I'll be here for some time in case you want a signature or if you want to ask any questions. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu ki Jai. Shri Prabhu.
He gave it to you? Otherwise they can pay again, I'll go out. Yeah, I think that's very best. You can take it. Yeah.